husband that's an ultra marathon runner, so that's sports a big thing. And is it your daughter that climbs? Will we have that? Yeah. So daughter's sporty and dancey too. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, she climbs for Team GB. So.
Oh, does she? Wow.
Yeah.
Abby's just doing it as one of her sports for GCSE PE, but she's always loved climbing since she was tiny. And when it came up as being able to be one of the choices for GCSE, it was like, it's a bit of a result.
Well, there you go. She's following in her father's footsteps, she is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my daughter, gee whiz, mothers me to death.
As you're chatting, Phil, fill us in on where you're up to. You've got loads going on at the minute by the sounds of it.
Who's that, sorry?
You.
Sorry, you. Do you want to go ahead now, Phil?
Yeah, I've been, so let's see, when was it when I contacted Gray? It was early last year. Always loved running, but it's always been sort of like a second hitter, sort of big outdoors person. Background for me is rugby, ice hockey, things like that, climbing, big climber and boulderer, and then obviously running, and just thought it would be an ideal opportunity. My partner actually runs, she's a yoga teacher as well, so she runs a part-time, well, it's both part-time gigs really, so I work full-time. Jules works full-time as well, but she's a qualified Czech practitioner as well. So she's got holistic lifestyle coaching and personal training and yoga. So yeah, the two sort of marry up together. So with her yoga, and I practice yoga with her. I say, but practice yoga, sort of like dip in and out of it.
Sorry, sorry, mad husband in the background as well. Got to go and do the dancing pickup now.
All right. But yeah, so Chi Running seemed the obvious way to go, really, for me. And also, I've started doing ultras and things like that. So it's I can see the differences and the difference it makes now. So did a workshop with Gray in, I think it was October last year. Sort of like a joint one where Gray led it, and then I've got another. Well, we've done a workshop in February, which was very successful. I've got another one on the 30th of March, which I've just had another 2 sign up for, so that's good. So we're up to 6 now, and then we've got quite a good following on. We run a Chi social run every other Sunday. So we get quite a lot of uptake from that as well, and people that come on that tend to spill over into the workshops as well now. So we've got quite a cult following now in Manchester, and I've just been in talks with a running shop in Lancaster where I work, and they're interested in running 2 consecutive Chi Run shops, so it'll be good news for Gray. Also interested, funnily enough, there's a big ultra running group that are very interested in a Oxygen Advantage workshop with you, Gray, so you might have to travel up north again to Lancaster. And that's me, really.
You're on mute, Gray.
Sorry, I unmuted myself because it is raining here, so hopefully you can hear. Linda, can you hear okay now?
I can now hear, yes.
Yeah.
Hello.
I wasn't ignoring everybody. I was texting Linda to try and get her off onto the microphone. That's brilliant. Phil, you've got a lot going on there by the sounds of it. So it's
yes, it's very busy.
That's what we want. Linda, how are you getting on?
Sorry, was that me, Gray?
Yeah.
I've had God, apart from half term, before half term I had a workshop every weekend for over 3 weekends, and I've had one-to-ones. I had 2 one-to-ones this week, and I've got my next Build the Foundations workshop is on St. Patrick's Day, 17th of March. And yeah, there's it's good. And once it gets brighter, I'm going to do a run group, which I've heard people want. An early evening group. just an hour of running, and that'll build interest as well. And I just need to get myself down to the running club on a Tuesday again, once it gets a bit brighter and lighter. And yeah, there's a lot of interest, actually. It really is good. Now, actually, can I just ask you one question that you might have a view on? One of my one-to-ones came back to me today, and he'd been to the physio, and the physio told him he has plantar fasciitis, and caused by an increase of cadence. Now, what would your response to that be?
It's interesting you say that, because I've just been looking at some studies on cadence, and they're saying exactly the opposite in the studies. So they're actually saying in the actual studies that you're putting less force through the lower limbs. I would say we're not physios, so you have to go with what your physio has told you. I would check how they're landing, because remember, when we're teaching cadence, that's not just speeding up your turnover of your feet. The cadence is the consequence of everything else that's going on in the body, where your centre of gravity is. And I would check, is that something that when you videoed them, they had a low cadence?
I only got the message today, and yes, he did have a slower cadence initially, and I haven't seen him in probably about 2 months. So, you know the way it is, he's probably gone back to his old ways. He's training for London, so he's increasing his distances now. And you know, when the niggles start happening and the pain comes to the forefront. So I don't know how to reply to him, but I would have said the exact opposite as you say. Interestingly, my physio came along to my last Build the Foundations workshop with her 2 friends, and she loved it.
I say I'm not a physio, but I would say it's more likely the increase in distance than the cadence. Yeah. Cadence, you're more likely, and if he's with ChiRunning, obviously you're more likely to get the midfoot land. I'd say, and also if he's building up his distance that he hasn't done before, it's more than likely that but obviously you've got to go with what a physio says. But rolling on a tennis ball, golf ball, all of those sorts of things are really good for plantar fasciitis. I don't know what his physio has told him to do. Hopefully not to stop.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know yourself, there's good and bad physios.
It can last, yeah, exactly. That's the thing. You can always, like everything, you can always get different opinions, and you'll get some physios that will tell you to work through things, and physios tell you to stop. I guess it depends on how severe it is, but you can't question.
I mean, if I went with the advice that my physio gave me years ago, not my current physio, that well, maybe you're just not built to go beyond 10 miles. You know, I would never run marathons and ultras, which I can. You know, there are physios that really, my physio, for example, cadence was quite a new experience for her. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not something they know.
No.
Yeah, I would check with them, because they might think of cadence as stride length. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying they will do, but you know what I mean? It's just say exactly what are they saying to you. And also go back to gradual progression, because if they're really changing their cadence from quite slow to quite quick, that is going to aggravate. As Elaine said, the niggles are going to come into play there. But I'll send you the study. Basically, it's interesting you mentioned that, because this is one of the things I wanted to highlight on what I'm wanting to bring onto the UK website. Is I've put the piece on there for knowledge centre. So we've got the bits that are blogs, but I wanted some information on there that's got a little bit more data driven, because looking at how people share information, how people read blogs, and how people interact more, actually it's the data driven blogs that really help. So for example, the one I just did on breathing.
Sorry, Craig, I can't hear you very well. I can hear it like a ticking.
That's the rain. Sorry.
Is it?
Yeah, it must be the rain. Yeah.
Can you stop the rain, please?
Can I stop?
It sounds like one of his downpipes is blocked.
Go out and clear your drains.
Anybody else got any questions? And I'll just put me on mute for a second until it stops.
It's all right, carry on. It's just I could hear
yeah, I want to talk to you about arms.
Yeah, okay, ask away, and then I'll go. Once the rain slows down, or when I get a microphone, I can talk better. So ask me about your arms.
He'll quickly go out and clear the drains in the meantime. Yeah. Now, I've watched you with your arms, Gray.
Don't watch me.
Okay, and I've been. You know the way we tell people to hold their arms at 90-degree bend. I think the difficulty is they have no idea. Once they get their arm behind here, they have no idea what's going on, and it goes way down there. Now, I've started telling people to keep the wrist above the waistline and to tighten the bend as it goes back, in order not to drop the arm behind them. Because I have one particular chap that came this week, and he really struggles on body awareness. And so, you know, he'd say, oh yeah, my arms are doing great. And I'd see him run, and, you know, they'd be way behind him, dropped down, once they're out of his sight. And so what do you do to cue people to keep their arms in the correct position?
Take it to the side of the rib cage. I tell them wrists to the side of the rib cage. Again, it depends on how loose they are in the shoulders. Some of them will really struggle to get their elbows back if they're particularly tight in the shoulders. So any loosening exercise, if they've got one of those elastic bands, you know, things that they can do to help loosen will help with their arms. But I always say about taking the wrist to the side of the bottom rib. So it's the elbow. Think about the elbow going back, not to think about the wrist doing anything, because actually all they're then going to do is just work their biceps. Yeah, so it's the elbow going back and the wrist coming to the side of the rib cage is what I cue. And it's just habits as well. You know, most of the people that I've taught have never really thought about their arms at all, or have never had that as a focus, unless they've been athletes, and so they, you know, they'd obviously be a bit more conscious. But the general person that I've had that's come to me has never thought about what they do with their arms when they're running at all. You know, because nobody's ever said anything about it. What's this? Nick's saying something. Many people like it. Nick, I can't see you.
He said something about movement coach. They've never had movement coaching.
Yeah. So, I mean, the wrist coming to the side of the ribs is something that I cue. And again, it's habit. It's like, you know, they might practice a golf swing or a tennis swing, or, you know, like any other sport, people practice really, don't they? And actually with running, unless you've been a runner, most people have never actually done that and practiced it. And, you know, you just got to stand on the spot in that staggered stance, spending quite a lot of time so that they get that action. And it's going to take time. It's not going to change. I don't think something like that is going to change instantly. It takes time to make the muscle memory accept that that's the new way.
Yeah. What do you do, Phil?
Oh, in what? In arm swing.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah. There's Mr. Constein.
I've only got space for 4. How about I delete me?
In terms of arm swing, I mean, I find it's, especially when you've not got people that have that are body aware, and I think a lot of people that I've had aren't very body aware of what their arms are doing. Especially when you do the video observation with them, and you go, and they look and they go, "What's my arms doing? Why are my arms doing that?" And sort of like all over.
Yeah.
So I mean, the last one I did, I had quite a few people that just couldn't control their arms, so we did a lot of work doing sort of from that walk transition into a run, and just being aware of what's going on with their arms. But again, I agree with Linda. Sometimes it's they haven't got much this pushing the relaxation, and getting them to actually take their shoulders from around their ears helps. But I think generally a lot of people run with very tight bodies, and when you say, even just the cue of relax while you're running, or relax your legs, and that tends to sort of cue that, actually it does feel a lot better, and not actually making a point of concentrating too much on what they're doing with their arms, because then you tend to get people that are all over the place and thinking, right, I've got to do this with my arms, I've got to do this with my legs, I've got to think about my breathing, I've got to think about, and they all get very confused. So I think especially with the video observations that I do with people, I tend to concentrate on their 3 key things that they need to concentrate on, and just say, concentrate on this, because this is where your major issues are being caused. But it's that rib cage taking it too far, and that swing back. It's the same with when you're talking about, I know we've taken the word lean out.
Yes, that's a bad word.
Yes, we don't talk about the lean, but actually getting people to think about that rear extension with their leg, is you can see how tight they are they've got no control of what's going on in the bums, basically, in the glutes, and you can see they've just got no. You see legs splaying out all over the place. So it's.
I know who you're teaching, Phil.
Sorry?
I'm not sure who you're teaching.
Honestly, I've seen some weird and wonderful running.
It's like Phoebe from Friends.
Oh, I've had a Phoebe runner with me.
Brilliant.
And the transformation was astounding.
Yeah, well, Gray and I had one when I was on my sort of still in training. But do you remember Karen Grinrod? Yeah. Gray? I mean, she was a classic case of, I can't do this and I can't do that, and her legs were doing all sorts, and her arms were doing all sorts, and her shoulders were doing all sorts. And by the end of the workshop, we'd pretty much straightened her up to a point.
I think the rain has stopped a little bit now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
I'll put another mic in if it goes really heavy. I would say, read the arm swing, watch the word tighten, Linda. So I wouldn't really start to suggest to tighten to anyone, because they will, like Phil says, I think, almost start to try and hold the shoulders up and tighten the arms. I don't tend to use the 90 degrees, because that can get a little bit confusing. What I would do with them is, do you know, like the long pendulum? The arm swing is the long pendulum. And then as you speed up, as you get quicker, what's the easiest way of swinging the arms? It's shortening the pendulum. So if you take it from that point, that might help them just swing, just realize that all they've got to do is shorten the pendulum, and the elbows, Elaine was saying, will swing back. Just watch out if they're saying tighten, that they don't sort of like tighten up.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I said that to you. I actually don't think I've used that word with people.
Yeah.
I think what I've used with people is keep the forearm parallel with the ground you're running over at all times.
That's not right.
That's what you do, Gray, though.
No, because if you keep it parallel to the ground, it's less than 90 degrees as it goes back.
Yeah, but that then keeps your wrist above the waistline, doesn't it?
Well, no, you don't want your arm parallel to the ground. Otherwise, you're actually flexing your arm as you swing it back. But then, if you then have it, then it goes below your waistline. If you don't have it like that, I wouldn't get so obsessed about where it is going. No. Back to. Drop more to below. You don't want it going right below the waistline, but it will brush sort of like the side of the ribs down to the hip. But if you're going parallel to the ground as you go forward, you're actually flexing the arm. If you think about it, as you're tilting forwards, if you stay parallel, your arm is going to do, he says, where nobody can see. But do you see what I mean? So when it goes back, it's actually less than 90 degrees. So your arm all the time. Yeah. I mean, they use the idea of like keep it as it being in a sling, but again, you don't want it locked in sort of like a sling position. just body sensing, taking the time and just going over and over and over it again, just in that standing posture. Remember when you do the arm swing as well, because this is what a lot of people get, is that when you do the arm swing, have your client or have yourself tilted forwards, because if you do it just feet together in a standing posture, your arm will not stay at 90 degrees. If you're tilted as if you're about to move forward.
That's right. Yeah.
Just getting practice. Whether it is Nick still busy, or is it, can Nick make any comments on that as well? I think he's still tied up actually.
I can make comments.
All right, brilliant.
I've been listening.
Are you going to do some rendition of Britney Spears with your headphones on?
Well, this laptop's pretty old. I mean, I'm quite an old-fashioned coach. I've been coaching for absolutely, dare I say, decades. Do it again and again and again and again and again and again. Because when they're doing their arm swing, I'll say that's very good for a minute, but you've got 4 hours. And it is pretty much what Gray said. I think also what Phil said. It's about perception is not the reality. If they drop their arms, you need to tell them they're dropping their arms, because they won't know they're dropping their arms. I talk about passive arm swing and active arm swing, you know, pendulum-like, tips of the elbows, keeping it in rhythm, away from the legs. Everything's upper body, not upper body, but, you know, above, away from their legs. And a good sense of just keep beating out the timing. And it just seems to help them. But as I said, apart from tri clubs and martial art guys who I coach, most people I coach have never had any physical education coaching at all.
Yeah.
And so you can give them too much, fragment it and confuse them. And like Phil said, I honestly, the emails I give them at the very end are just 3 points, or with the video overview to say, look, concentrate on that, honestly concentrate on that. The plantar one, going back to what you said, I reckon some of my runners who do get injured is because they just ramped everything up because they actually feel so good. So they end up just knocking up their miles and knocking up their speed, and they just do everything. And I said to them, no, you've really got to back off the distance and focus on form. So there's an awful lot of things there. If you ask your runner who's getting a bit of plantar, what did you really do afterwards? I suspect they probably ramped everything up. They might even change their shoes. You never know.
Yeah.
You don't know anyway. Blah blah blah. But yeah, it's you've just got to nail down. I mean, and habits are habit forming. Some people's habits are just really weird, but they just don't know.
No.
You know, they just got no idea, and their bodies are used to it. So when you put them in a different position, it'll feel even more weird. And that's like the bloomin' golf swing. I used to play semi-professional golf at 17 or 18. And if you change someone's golf swing, it feels absolutely, completely weird to them. You know, it's just completely gaga. So it does play with their minds a bit. And so you just got to be just, you know, ease them into it, really. But I honestly repeat forever. You know?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anyway. I shall stop.
Presumably you've shown your video, so you can see himself on the video as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And what I do is, I mean, this guy has been to me 5 times already, and he's already making his next appointment, so he's loving it. So he knocked 6 minutes off his Brighton half marathon time, and he's convinced it's because of Chi. So that's fabulous. But he's one of these people who isn't very body aware, and appreciates the attention to detail and the videos. He loves the videos. Because I often just video people, and what I now do in the workshop is I video them, and actually I don't say anything when we watch the videos. Everybody else does. And then I send the video to them and say, just compare the before and after. And often, you know, let them work it out with a little bit of hints. I have produced a 2-page reminder sheet for people, which they say is helpful. I don't know what anyone else does.
Yeah, it's always good to give them follow-up stuff. It is pouring with rain here now. I'm going to try a different mic, and tell me what I won't be able to do is hear your response back. So if you can hear me all right, can you just pop a little message in the chat? So
yeah, I can hear you. Just for handouts.
This mic should be a lot better because it's closer to me. Can you all hear okay?
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
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 All good.
Yeah.
Because I know Nick gives a handout. It's always good to give people stuff to take away. So it's information that they can take away with them, and the pointers and the notes. You can do it either individually, if you have time to do that with the video, or just a set of pointers that you take away with you. I use the screen, so I do a couple of slides on a screen, so it has the breakdown of the posture exercise stuff, some of the stuff that we used on instructor training, and then they get the slides to take away. What I'm also doing
would be useful
online.
Right. It would be useful if we could have those.
I'm going to show you that now, actually, because the people who are coming on to the next workshop, to the May workshop, are doing this different online instructor training course. It's exactly the same content-wise, but it's just with the updated information, and it's just laid out a little bit better. So you should be able to see my screen now. So what I'm actually giving the instructors is almost like these little handouts. Can you see the handout there where they get this is the introduction to Chi Running. So what's the objectives of Chi Running, the stuff that we're doing when we're doing the instructor training, and we hit those key objectives. These are the things that they can then make sure that they're delivering in the introduction. So I'm doing each one of these little cheat sheets, if you like, for each of the lessons. So they will get that as they go through the instructor training. You all will obviously, once all of the new stuff is on there, have access to that. It's the same as you went through with the instructor training online before, but just a bit more clearly laid out. So you could use those as handouts, or take elements of those as handouts as well from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that looks good.
While I'm
much fancier than mine.
Great. I think that would be useful for everyone to take away.
So this is the US manual. As Phil quite rightly said, Danny's taken the lean out. Now, there are some references to the lean in here, so he still hasn't taken it out completely, but the majority of that, well, the whole of the lean lesson has gone. So if you look here, and this is quite nice actually, where he's just done the begin run, tied it into just move your center of gravity forwards. So that works really well, taking the lean out there. Where does that go to? It goes 17, wasn't it? Page 17, I think. So that was the arm swing one. So we got move from the center, moving your center of gravity forwards, and begin. It is pouring with rain here. It's absolutely teeming down. It's all the stuff that you know, and it's all the stuff that we're teaching. It's just slightly laid out differently. So it goes from moving your center of gravity forwards into walk into run, changing the speeds. This is different. We haven't done this one before, the yoga strap exercise. I think Nick uses this exercise. So what I'll do is I'll do a video on that on the new instructor training, so you can see that. He does emphasize the pelvic rotation here. This is a difficult one, and I think you all know from the way I teach the instructor training, and Danny's very aware of this as well, is that I'm very careful with pelvic rotation. It'd be interesting to get Nick's input as this as well, since he's been teaching this for so long, in that if a pelvic rotation, again, is a consequence of all of the other pointers coming together at the right time. So if people don't have sufficient hip extension, don't have sufficient thoracic rotation, then they just start wiggling the bum. You can do very odd things with pelvic rotation. So just be aware of that if you're trying to do the pelvic rotation with a yoga strap. You don't want to be pulling people's hips around the place. It's a nice place to add in the window of balance there. So that's the main change from the US script to the UK, for the US script that I will now put into the UK online training element. The other big thing that Danny didn't change, which I think is a real shame, and he knows, I've said this to him, because he does teach breathing very differently now, but he's kept the breathing section exactly the same. And I think there's a lot in that breathing section that obviously is useful, but in the US script, he focuses very much on issuing breath. So very much as if you were running with more energy, if you were running at a quicker speed. So more, rather than the easy, effortless nasal breathing that we practice when we go from walk to run. And those of you, the ones, you know, when we've done the begin run, I always bring the breathing into begin run, because the breathing, I think personally, is essential to bringing to that first workshop. And as we know, the two key things to focus on in the breath to start off with is easy nasal breathing, because it really controls how people move their body, and also the rhythm of the breath. So those are the two key focuses to bring in with the breathing. So it's not as if you have to go into all of this complicated stuff on breathing, but he's left in the US script the whole idea of breathing to a particular count, which again, be interesting to get Nick's thoughts on this, and all of your thoughts as well now you've been teaching it, because everybody's going to be different in terms of how they breathe to a particular count. The only thing that stays a constant in the rhythm is the cadence, and then the breathing sits on top of the cadence. Because if we try and force the breath to a particular count, everybody's going to have a different breath rate at a different effort level, at a different pace. So two of us running together at the same pace may not breathe within the same ratio of in-breath, out-breath, depending on our fitness, etc. So that's the only issue I have with the US script. And I have brought this up with him, because he didn't change any of that, and I know he does teach from the point of view of the oxygen advantage as well, or yogic breathing. So those are the key changes. The other thing I want to show you quickly is, let me just make sure I'm going to share the right screen now. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
It's all right. I can't, because I can't unplug this microphone, otherwise you'll be just pouring with rain. Let me find, where's the other screen? Let me just find the screen. This should work now. So can you see the submit an event here on the ChiRunning UK page?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it looks as if I'm sharing the whole screen. Bear with me 1 second. I'll just stop that and just share. That's it. That's better. I've made it easier for you to upload stuff to the website to share an event. So you will have a login. Most of you have got a login. And you go, I'll give you the link to the page. It's ChiRunning, and I'll send you this link as well. Everybody will get this link, events community add. So what it means basically is that you can add your own events, and they will then be submitted to me, and then I will make them live. Obviously check all the editing and stuff like that, make sure it all makes sense. And you literally add in an event title. So build the foundations or yoga for runners, whatever you want to do. Then you can put in a short description. Now, I will keep the descriptions very generic. So we're saying the same thing in the Build the Foundation workshop. So in that description area, just put anything that might be different in. I know Linda's given me one this afternoon to put on there, and I know it's slightly different because it's a shorter workshop. So anything that's different from the Build the Foundations workshop that we need to know. And then you can add your date and time. So 24th of, well, that one's gone, hasn't it? March, 14th of March, whatever time, start time. You can add a picture if you want to add a picture on there. Choose a category. So when it drops down to category, it will come up with all of the instructors who are selling events on here. So if we go for, Linda's not on there, but I'll add Linda on there. So Linda's a category. So if you're putting an event on there, you add obviously your name as a category. You can put tags in there. So there's like Chi Running, Build the Foundations, African skipping drills, all of the tags that have actually been used on the website, or you can put your own tags in there. Venue. So if your venue isn't on there, you can create your venue, but these are all the venues where we've sold workshops from. Organizer, again, there's Linda there. So we can put Linda in there if we're putting Linda on. If there's an external website and then the cost, you just pop the cost in there and you click submit an event. So then I'll get an email that say, Elaine has submitted an event. I'll check it through and then I can make that event live, link it up to the booking system on the website. So it's just an easier way for us to put events up there, because what I found is the more events we're getting up there, obviously the more traffic will get into the website, which is great. So that will make that easier. The other question I want to ask people, and we can talk about this now, or it's something you can go away and think about. I had a meeting, a regional directors meeting with Danny and Catherine and the other regional directors. We know that the Chi Living have put a lot more work, work into their website. And what Catherine was saying is she was thinking about letting worldwide instructors list events on the Chi Living website or the Chi Running US website. So you could list an event on there as well. And she just wanted people's feedback on that. There would be an extra cost to that. That wouldn't come through Chi Running UK. That would go directly, you would have to go directly with Chi Living. There might be a minimal cost. That hasn't been worked out. But what I suggested we did is just get your feedback from that. I don't know whether it's a good idea or whether people will go to the Chi Living website to find events in the UK, because they can find instructors, because it will literally just bring back to the UK site. So I don't know whether there is an advantage to paying an extra cost to list a website on the US website. I'm in two minds about that. So just to get your thoughts and feedback on that, really. Let me just double check. Was there anything else I needed to go through? Then I'll stop talking, turn the rain off. Online training, did I show you? So this is the new online training portal, which people go on to, and then they can register for that. And you can show people quick previews. They get free previews. That was the other thing I was going to do. This new portal is a really easy way now of doing affiliates codes. So I'm going to work out an affiliate program where you get a percentage. So if you say to someone, oh, right, here you are, you're interested in Chi Running instructor training, you give them the link to this page, and all of when they visit that page, their cookies are on there and it comes from your link as well. So if they eventually book, then if you decided to be an affiliate of that, you get a knockback on that, you get a payout from that, and it's all done automatically, which is good. And I think it lasts for about 6 months as well, or even a year. So if they look at the website and then come back a year later and go, oh yeah, that's great, I want to remember to book that, you still get your affiliate payment for that. So it's just a way of helping to promote and get more instructors on board. So that's just the new platform that is going to be the online element of the training course. So that replaces the US script, and you'll see there I've done, as we did on the online training that you did, you get the script element, you get the posture script, you get the pull down test, the script for the standing posture, a video tutorial for the standing posture, the one-legged posture stance exercises, balance exercises, and then there's some additional learning videos, again, just all of the additional information that we got on there. And then they'll get the cheat sheet, pouring the rain, and the posture, and then the quizzes. So there'll be a quiz at the end of each section as well that they have to pass to get down through to the next section. I am going to put myself on mute now because the rain is getting really heavy, and then I can get any questions from you, then I can come back.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, Gray, I don't think I would see any benefit for me personally having anything on the US site, but I'm not doing it full time, and you know, it might be different for others, but personally, I don't think that's something that I would be interested in doing.
Yeah, I agree, Elaine.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think anybody who's gonna want to do a ChiRunning workshop or a one-to-one or anything like that will go direct to the UK website. I mean, why would somebody in the States want to book? I can't see the logic in it, Gray.
Yeah, I mean, the marketing isn't directed from ChiRunning US to Europe. It's generally the marketing strategy in the US is for the US. Mm. And the Twitter feed is all to do with the States. There's no benefit at all. My client base is literally word of mouth now. I get no visits or anything else. I get no recommends from anywhere else. So I generally find it's clubs and word of mouth and footfall. I'm a bit like Elaine. I mean, I work flat out with the OU, and I do with it loads of different things. So it's balancing it out, you know. But I like an automatic process and stuff. I mean, I use Entry Central a lot. Funnily enough, I'm the only person on Entry Central that's a coach for this, so that's quite useful. I'll trial the. I've got my password though, Gray, on that website, so I'll give it a go on the website. But as I said before, it's the hard part is getting some sort of joint marketing strategy going. It's getting the web traffic in on my website as well. Like I can see when people are visiting. I mean, I find I've been more successful the past few months with the Yoga for Runners. Yeah. To be honest, it's been a lot more footfall. I mean, they're all fully booked, the Yoga for Runners workshops. I get 12 to 15 people coming in. And then I start talking about chit chat and coaching runners and movement, etc. You know, but was it by stealth? You know, they're not where I live. They're not prepared to even think about the word chi. You know, it's got to be form and hard. So that's how it is. That's how it is up here. So it's just is what it is. In Scotland, they're much more open. But yeah. But I think Gray's point about that. Yeah, I think. Before UK came along, I was getting visits from US. Now that's certainly not, you know, obviously not the case because the link's been broken. But there is no question at all the US strategy is to do with ChiRunning school and the US instructors. That's fairly clear because I watch all the marketing feeds coming through. Mm. You know, I'm not naive. You know. Yeah.
We have got, I mean, the link is there. So if they go on to the US site, it links to so if somebody does go looking for Chi Running and Google's Chi Running and it takes them to the US site, then it does say find an instructor in the UK. So there is a link to our site. So it's not as if there's no way to get to our site. But as you say, I personally, again, I think as you're all saying, don't really see the need to list our workshops on a US site. But it may be an option, or they may decide not to do it, and you don't have to do it. It's not that you have to list your workshop on there. It's the same with the UK site. Like you say, Nick, if you list your workshop, you don't have to list it. You don't have to just sell through the UK website. So if you list your workshop and get no one booking through the UK website, we still have that content on the UK website, and it makes the calendar look busy. Leo, who's the newest instructor Linda has worked with, has just put 4 workshops on there. And that looks great because suddenly we got more workshops going on the calendar. So you're not just looking at a blank calendar. So the more we can get listed on there, the better, because it just looks busier.
Obviously, when I do my combined ones, Gray, obviously you don't know Sophie, and and the fact that she's doing a combined yoga workshop, that's all right. I know Nick obviously does his yoga himself, but you're okay with me having that joint workshop on there, even though Sophie's not affiliated with you. Okay, that's cool. Yeah,
because as long as you've got Chi Running, as long as an element of the workshop is Chi Running, like Nick's Yoga for Runners, as long as we're selling an element of that as Chi Running, then you can sell it through the UK site. And to be honest,
that's the only reason I haven't put anything on there, is because the one-to-ones and stuff, obviously that's just all coming from word of mouth or from the recommendation from the local running shop and stuff. But the workshops, I say, not that we do them regularly, but I hadn't put them on there because I wasn't sure, obviously, because Soph wasn't. But okay, I'll do that then. I'll put the dates for this year. Okay.
So it's like Phil. I mean, you've sold quite a few. Well, we sold 2 or 3 each workshop, haven't we? We've sold through the.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And I think on the yoga, not the yoga from, the one with John, I think couples sold through there. So it all adds up. I maybe get 1 or 2 sometimes through the UK site. So as long as we're not, as long as we're not selling basket weaving on a Saturday morning, as long as there's some reference to you running in what we're teaching, then that's fine. And you just list it up there, and then I can sell through the site. So we sell them through the website, and then just I pay you the 85% of the sale price. In the States, they charge 20%, so they charge more for their pro workshop.
Can you change one thing about the shop that would be really good? Is can we get a notification of the places going as well as you? Because that means you're always online and having to respond to someone booking a place, because that means you're never going to get a break. If you have 30 workshops on there, then you have to watch your phone for someone to actually book a place, and then email John and I, oh, there's a place gone. Well, you might miss that. And that's the thing about having, not you personally, but you in the middle of that selling process, means you've got to watch it, basically. And that's just to kind of smooth out then, because I feel it's my responsibility to say, oh, someone's booked a place in the workshop, I need to act, rather than waiting for you,
So just the notifications. I will look at that. Any other questions, thoughts from the US script, or anything I just went through briefly there with you?
I think for me, oh, sorry, Nick, go on.
No, I was going to say about the Yogi Strappy thing. I find it really works well, but it took me a good while to get the teaching points in, and I'm completely agree with Gray. If you force pelvic rotation, you're actually not doing it, and it's a consequence of everything else. Equally, I was looking at the ChiRunning US, and they were talking about oscillating, and they were getting mad into oscillation. And generally speaking, if everything is working well, oscillation generally goes to about 0 or hardly anything at all. And it's one of the things I look for when I'm recording. Is obviously I work next to a beach, so I have the sea horizon, just put their heads against the sea. Right.
Can't hear you, Nick.
Nick, you're freezing a bit.
It's that sea air.
But that's the bell.
You're still on the beach.
Pushing to the centre rather than leading with workshop, they can see their little bum move about a 5 degree slope. So that all kind of works. I'm seeing what else, Graham. What was that?
We got the important part. We all missed it. But you just came in when we said about your little bum move, so that's fine. That's the sound. That's the sound stick. That's not Chi Running.
Yeah, my arse does move, but that's just quite But yeah, it does. I think the yoga strap does work, but you do have to position it properly and watch a person move into it.
Yeah.
Because they can get it completely wrong, and that's something you want to be very careful of, really, I think.
Yeah, so I would, unless we've practiced it, I wouldn't bring that into your teaching as yet.
I think we need a video, boys.
Well, we need a video, but you can't just learn from video.
I think it'd be fun to watch.
We need a Chi Run instructor's social run with a bit of Nick strapping going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to the bar salsa afterwards, Nick.
Hey, don't knock dancing. I'll tell you what, I know, you know, Elaine's completely with this one, but honestly, the biggest thing I found this year, I'm lighter on my feet because of dancing around, I'll tell you.
Lots of benefits.
Huge amounts of benefits, and also it's definitely a mind movement thing as well. It's I'm not brilliant at all, but it's good fun, of course, as well. So yeah.
Get your guy with the arms dancing, Linda. There you go.
Yeah, I will.
Take his arms around and see where they go. That'll get him body centered.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether he puts his shoulders up round his ears while he's dancing. I think the only thing for me, Gray, that would be useful, and I think Linda mentioned it as well, would be sort of like a little like a deposit area in the coaches area on the website, where we can actually go if you want to give like a PDF or send a PDF out, like you showed on the those keynotes that you send out for the new instructors. That would be a good place where you could just dip in, and if it was just something that you could just send out after the event as a standard Chi Running sort of handout, that would be very useful. And then if you wanted to add to that in terms of, you know, your video observation you were sending individually and key points for somebody to concentrate on, that would be the extra icing on the cake, I think.
Sort of like the key points.
Yeah.
From what you're teaching in the workshop.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Gray, I haven't been able to download the latest US version in a form that I can actually just save to my iPad. I can get into Dropbox, but I can't get it out of Dropbox. I can't print it off or anything. So is there a way of sending me another format of that, perhaps?
Can't hear you.
Oh, yep. Turn my music.
No, can't hear you.
There you go.
Now you can hear me. Sorry. Is that mic in? That's all right. Stop training. It's just in PDF format. So that, and what iPad have you got? Because iPad should read PDF.
I've got the late. Well, I've got I got it last August. It's the Pro.
Yeah, it's PDF. That should.
Yeah, but I can't seem to get it from Dropbox. You know, I hope to be able to save it in my iBooks or notes, but I can just access it offline, and I can't. So I must be doing something wrong.
Yeah, I've got it on my iPad, and you can literally just download it and put it in iBooks or whatever. Yeah,
I'll try again.
Because
if I have a problem, I'll come back to you.
Because there's no other format really, because it's not in Word. They've literally just sent it as a PDF.
I'll give it another go.
Give it another go. I don't know how big the PDF is, because maybe if I just email it to you, I'll just double.
Actually, that would be great. Actually, if you could.
It might be big. I'm not sure how big it is because they've got some graphics and stuff in there. Because that might be why I put it on Dropbox, but I'll double check that.
Otherwise, if it's too big for email, you can use WeTransfer.
But you might have the same problem. If you use WeTransfer, it should be this Dropbox should be easier than WeTransfer, shouldn't it? Really, if you're downloading it an iPad.
I don't know if it just depends on the size of the. I don't know.
Is that the Chinese site?
What,
like WeChat?
No, I don't know. WeTransfer is something we use within work. Like if we're sending massive PowerPoint presentations that are too big for email.
And is that WE?
Yeah, just WE and then the word transfer. It's free.
Yeah, it sounds like WeChat. That's the Chinese one.
I don't know.
They're watching you, you know.
I'm not techie. I just use what I have to for work.
Yeah. Okay, I'll try that. Well, if you try that.
Yes, every time I look at the WeTransfer site, I always read it as wet transfer.
That's a different website, Gray.
Yeah, I shouldn't be looking at that one.
Yeah.
Any other? We've done an hour. Wow. Any other questions or anything you need to bring up or want to discuss briefly in the next?
Well, one more comment about the pelvic rotation. I very much go with you on that, Gray, in that I do not mention pelvic rotation. And interestingly, I had a refresher course a couple of weeks back, and one of the chaps on that had read the book, and he said pelvic rotation in the book really confused him, but the way I explained it, and that just moving your leg from the top of the psoas was far easier to get his head round. And that's what I stick with, and I don't mention the pelvis rotating. I don't know what, I've taken your guide on that, Gray, very much so.
Because it's not actually the pelvis rotating in a way. The pelvis needs to be facing forwards. It's actually the spine that's rotating. And because the spine rotates and the femur rotates on the hip, that's why the pelvis moves. But it shouldn't move too much, because if the spine's stiff or if the hips are stiff, you're just going to end up, as Nick said, wiggling your bum, which I think was the point he was making when we came in there. So yeah, it really can confuse people if they go away after a one-day workshop trying to rotate the pelvis, I think. It's something that I think, again, I want to write a piece on it. I'll get a piece together on that, going on the idea of more data-driven stuff. That's the other thing I've got to do for you, Linda, as well, is send you that link to the study about cadence.
Oh, please, yeah.
If you just Google any of the PubMed stuff and look up running and cadence, it's interesting how it says it reduces the load on the knee, it reduces the load. And there was one particular one, I'm sure it was, because I was writing it up on a piece about reducing the actual load on the plantar fascia. But again, there could be I think there's loads of other things that it could be that has affected his foot. He could, like you say, he could have changed shoes, he could have done this. So to put it down to one thing, unless he did just do that quite dramatically, very quickly, that could be the reason. But I think it's good if we say, well, look, this study highlights that if you increase your cadence, blah, and that physios will like that. And I think that gives us a little bit more credibility as well. It's not saying running is just science, but the fact that we can back up what we're teaching.
And I don't want to, I don't want to just say, no, your physio is wrong. No, if I can just fire something off to feast die first.
Yeah, I'm gonna get quite yogi on this one. I always announce at a big workshop, like 15 or 20 people, I say, look, I'm going to give you my barefoot running book, and it's one sentence. So we have evolved to stand on our 2 feet. That's it. There is no extra science required. We have all the proprioception required on our feet to be able to run, walk barefoot. And most people's foot problems is because their feet simply are not strong enough. I can wear any shoes anywhere. I hate the Salomons I've bought. They're like bricks. But yeah, generally speaking, most people's feet are not in good nick, and they're just not strong enough. So we then looked for alternative solutions, and I used to say feet die first, or you just scaffold and scaffold and scaffold and scaffold, and their actual basic structure is just very, very weak. They don't like to hear that because I think they want to hear some sort of immediate solution. But it's invariably, not all the cases. I've had some people with definitely got problems with their feet, but they're very strong outliers. We are normally distributed very strongly around basic means, and the outliers are very, very rare. So I always say also common things occur commonly. That's why they're common. So it's, and I just say, right, I don't want to hear any more about feet or shoes in this workshop. That's it, because it just distracts, the whole agenda. And I think, but especially combined workshops with the yoga element, I say, no, use your feet more. And I spend about a good 30 minutes of the first introductory workshop with yoga anyway, foot exercises. And their feet are tired.
Mexican wave with the toes is a really, really
I do Mexican wave with the toes. Yeah.
I did the have you seen the elastic band one, Nick? Where you put the elastic bands on your toes and you raise your big toe up with the elastic bands to get that movement. That's one more thing that I've actually started doing on my last workshop. I got everybody to take their trainers off and go back.
I always do that.
Yeah. Because otherwise, if they're stood in these like massive chunky trainers that's got something rammed up into their arch, they can't feel what's going on in their feet. And just one more thing on the plantar. When I transitioned from normal running trainers to barefoot running, it took me about 6 months, and I transitioned just that little bit too soon, and I started to feel it on my right foot, and I just backed off and went back to normal trainers, and then started going back to barefoot trainers again. I just wear Vivos now, Vivo barefoots, and I don't have, my running style has changed dramatically. That and Chi Running, of course.
I think I've had runners come onto my beach and said, look, they've been so protective about their orthotics and their shoes. I say, look, we're going to run for 20 meters on a beach. Take your shoes and socks off, will you? And I won't even do any Chi Running stuff, and they will change their form. Straight away.
You're just showing off about your sandy beaches up there, Nick.
Oh, do you know what? I might defriend Nick because I get really peed off every time I look at his Facebook.
If I got people to run 20 meters in Suffolk, they'd kill me. Shingle.
Oh, you've got shingles, haven't you? Yeah, I've got lovely white. Yeah, I've got lovely sand. Yeah, but it just shows you though people's perception of it's breaking down perceptions, and it can really take quite a bit of time, particularly if they're very defensive, protective about orthotics. They spent a lot of money, and they think that's the solution because the physios have told them. You really are challenging perceptions, and then when you say it's going to take 6 months to a year, it's like, oh my god. So, but
that's like anything though. If you reflect to other sports, and actually when you then talk to them about it, if they realise that if you do change a golf swing or a swimming stroke or whatever, you have to go back to progress. And actually, as long as you have that conversation and that explanation with them, most of them then get it, and it's worth taking those. Whether you're going to lose a couple of minutes on your PB or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Have that longevity to be able to enjoy running and look after your body and be the 90-year-old park runner or whatever. That's what it's about for us, isn't it? So
I agree.
When you have that conversation, most people accept that and realise that. I've got one guy that's ex-military and is highly competitive, and he's a triathlete. But he just was constantly injured. He's seen me, I think I've seen him 4 times now, but he has a bit of like an 8-week gap each time because he goes away and does stuff, and constant little niggles because all he's been obsessed about was times. And then he's just, I don't know, he's become a dad, and I think he's reflected on stuff, and I think he's had some therapy for post-traumatic stuff since coming out of the forces, and had a real kind of life reflection, I guess, and he's now just like, yeah, actually, I want to be able to mess around with my kids and, you know, look after my body. And it's been really quite interesting to see him change mentally. Physically, his running actually hasn't been that bad, but one thing for him, Nick, is he's taken up yoga, mainly for the mindfulness, but actually it's made a massive difference to his Achilles. And he was very much a toe runner with really, really tight calves when I first met him. And the transition already has been phenomenal. And I swear it's because of yoga for him.
No, I'm very quickly before I'll have to disappear, but I couldn't believe it. I put on these modules, these 6-week modules, developing a personal practice for runners, 6 weeks. I thought I'll get 2 people, you know, and no one's going to sign up, but they did. And the thing they found really interesting and most challenging was the pranayama and the breath and the relaxation. I said, no, that's the yoga part. That's the asana part. You were saying, I said, get the thing right. And they began to realize what it was about. And it's very interesting to see people's perceptions. When I ask runners in the yoga studio, say, give me one word to describe yoga. It's always like stretch, work hard, blah, 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 blah. 1 or 2 might say relaxation. 1 or 2 might say, you know, mindfulness, but most will say stretching.
Yeah.
That's what they'll say, you know, but anyway, but yeah, I agree completely. Yeah.
Brilliant. Anything else before we finish off? Because we've gone over 10 minutes, over half an hour. We've done an hour and 10.
Yeah, you're going to have to supply cakes on the next one, Gray, because I'm really hungry now.
I'm going to have my dinner now.
Virtual cakes.
Virtual cakes.
I'll just say one thing. Anyone wants to run with people whose senses are totally changed, I've just started the guiding with the blind runners. And it's amazing that all their other senses are so heightened. It's been absolutely fascinating. So if anyone volunteers at a local park run or something, it's been really, I don't do it every week, but I've done it, you know, every few weeks I'm on the sort of a rota, and then, yeah, quite fascinating.
Yeah, I took your advice. I've got my first guide run in 2 weeks.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, let us know. Let me know how you get on.
Yeah, so we'll do.
Yeah.
I will do.
It's good.
Fantastic.
We should all do it.
Yeah, it's amazing how body aware, well, obviously they are, but yeah, quite interesting.
Yeah, could you just send that link and password stuff back to Gray via that website? So I might list my Haddington and Edinburgh workshops on there just to keep it busy for you, yeah?
And just one more thing. The other thing I was thinking, I've signed up for this 24-hour race. It was always in Harwich, but it's now in Bury St Edmunds this year, and it's in May. And I'm wondering, maybe it's for running clubs, so you'd have to join a club for us to be able to do it. But I think we should get a team together, a Chi Running team, for next year's event, which is next May. And that would be a 24-hour, and it's a team, anything from 2 people to 8 people. And we would just run through a 24-hour period, and so many running clubs enter it. And it's such a fabulous event. It's just a great big picnic event.
Mm.
And
we like it.
Yeah. and I've done it 2 years running now, and I'm signed up again for this year's. And it's just a fantastic event to do. And I just think it would be a great way for us to get together and to promote Chi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a good
What
idea.
do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think any events that we can all get together on, or just get or a small group or whatever, great just to catch up, but also, as you say, just some promotion. We're actually out there as a group, not just individual instructors.
Exactly, and we camp. You know, I'll bring my motorhome. We camp, and we just bring lots of picnic stuff.
No. Boutique hotel for me.
Hotel.
You want me to run for 24 hours and then get in a tent? No.
Oh no, the tent is luxury if you have the time to sleep.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, if anybody is around Cheltenham or Bath on the 21st of June, is it 21st of June? Yeah. Jules and I are doing the Cotswold Way Ultra for Mind. So I'll send a link so you can sponsor us.
Is that the 100?
Yes, the 100k one. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Is the training going all right?
It is, yes. We've, I think Gray sees all the feeds on. We were up in the Lake District 2 days on the run last weekend, so the weekend just gone. So climbing up huge mountains. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's going well. It's going well.
Fantastic.
Is Sheila doing that one as well, Phil?
No, Sheila is doing. Oh, Sheila's got all sorts going on, but her main one is the Chester one. Yeah, she does one a week. Yeah, but that's the one I'm crewing Sheila on. So
which one's that?
That is the 18th of May.
Is that an ultra?
Yes, 100 miles. Yeah.
Still, you should link up with my husband on social media.
I can't believe he was out running the day he got back, wasn't he?
Mental. Yeah, he got back home at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then because it was such a beautiful day, I was going out running. He went, "How long are you going?" I was like, "A few miles." He went, "Yeah, I think I might come." He just come back. He's just done a 230 ice ultra event in
I saw the
Arctic.
feed. Yeah.
And so came out running that night. Do you know what? I just wanted him to, one day I want him to walk through the door hobbling, but it just doesn't seem it's so bloody annoying. But yeah, so he loved it. But he's going out with Pablo Gray in July.
Oh, is he? Brilliant.
Yeah.
Which one? Morocco?
Costa Rica.
Oh, nice.
Next year.
Wow.
No, July. This July.
Oh, I didn't know he was doing one this year.
Yeah, no, nor did I till the week before he went away to the Arctic.
Because he normally just does one a year.
Yeah.
Costa Rica.
I know. But it's Pablo's, this is the first time he's doing it in the summer because it's rainy season, so it's even harder. So that's why, of course, Russ.
Yeah, I was going to say, he normally only does January Costa Rica.
No, this is the inaugural July one, and Pablo just wanted like about 15 people, I think. So he kindly invited Russ, and of course Russ couldn't say no.
That'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
So they've not met yet then either?
No, via video on Facebook. I translated it. So yeah.
Excellent. Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. Right, should we finish there? Because we've done an hour and a quarter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. It's really good to catch up and everything. I'll send all the details out everybody's asked for, and any other questions.
See you next.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
I'm sorry for pouring the rain.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Keep in touch, and you. Keep in touch.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.